Hello, this is Rich, and this is part 2 of the creating a health and ammo HUD or UI in Cryengine 3. Then part 2 is going to be about scripting. Tonight I have quite a bit of time for the tutorial. My oldest son is out visiting his grandparents, so I have more time to do this. So I was going to do 3 parts, but this is actually going to be part 2 and part 3 on this tutorial, so there will be no part 3. The second part's going to be the scripting to get Cryengine to recognize your Flash content and implementing it into Cryengine and going through the flow graph to utilize the UI from Flash. So this will be the last in the tutorial, which is probably good news for you guys. You guys don't have to wait for a third tutorial. Alright then, let's get started. What I want to do is I want to open up my document so we can see where we left off here. That way you don't think that there was some steps that I did that I didn't show you on the video. So we're going to just basically pick up where we left off. We left off by publishing our content, I believe. So we're just going to go through the steps and redo that. So what's going to happen is there is one thing I want to explain about the functions in Flash that I never did. Sometimes I get caught up in my videos and I say I'm going to explain something and I totally forget. So first of all, I just want this document here to fit in Windows so I can see the entire thing. Secondly, I want to go to my timeline, right click on my scripts, because remember the scripts is located on the scripts layer. And oops, right click on this first frame here, go to actions. Alright, if you remember the code, none of this was touched since, so this would be exactly what you have if you followed this tutorial to a T. Secondly, the part I was going to explain to you about these parameters inside here. Like I said, when you define a function, you can have an option to put arguments within the opening and closing brackets. In this case, we chose for one of the arguments to be a variable. One thing you probably didn't know is that these arguments are actually going to be input nodes on the flow graph function. So these variables are actually in flow graph. Once we set up the scripting to get Cryengine to recognize all of your Flash content, these variables are going to have their own flow graph node for each of your variables. Each function is also going to have its own flow graph node. And this parameter or arguments inside the function here, this health text, this variable is actually going to be an input. So on each function you create, this argument, or if you have more than one argument in these functions here, they're going to be input nodes on the flow graph node. So that's something just to keep in mind. So that's good. Okay, now that I've explained that, because I forgot to last time, let's go to File, Save, and then Publish. I'm going to keep open my document here and open up my scripts so I can see all my functions and variables, because we're going to need to see those in order to do this properly. Secondly, I have Notepad++. I highly recommend you get this. This has been a lifesaver for me. You can use regular Notepad, but please get Notepad++. It's the best. And it's free. Just Google it. Okay, first of all, we need to create an XML document. So we're going to go to File, New, Language up here, and let it know we're working with XML language. Then we're going to immediately save it, File, Save As, and this is my bad. Just minimize this. First thing we're going to want to do is after we published our document, our Flash document. We're going to go into the current Cryengine, which is our your build, the game folder. Remember, I exported my compiled SWF version in game, my files, scale form. Ignore this part right here that I'm about to do. I'll let you know when you're supposed to pay attention. This is something I do for organizations and so I can have backups of my file. This is my Flash file. I just want a backup of it, so I'm going to put it in a folder I called Flash, just so I can have backups to the actual files. I'm going to take my SWF, which is actually a GFX file, and go ahead and I'm going to copy that and put it in my GFX, just so I can have a backup of it. You don't need to do this. Okay, after you do that, this is where you need to pay attention. I'm going to right click on my SWF file, tutorial ammo health HUD SWF. This is my compiled version of my Flash document, which is this whole program here. I'm going to copy it, and this compiled version needs to be in a specific folder. This is important. It cannot be in a custom folder. It needs to be in a specific folder. The folder it needs to be in is the Cryengine build, game, libs, UI, and this main UI folder. If you look here, you can see templates, GFX, ammo health HUD, GFX, entity flash tag, GFX. These are all Cryengines. So we're going to paste. If you notice, here it is. It's a SWF. This is where we have to rename the extension. So just highlight it, rename it to a .gfx. Just like that. We're going to press enter, and it's going to tell us that we're changing the file name extension. Just push yes. You want to change it. Now it's a GFX, just like everything. And that's good. We've done that. In two folders you're going to want to take note of, which are very important, because certain XML documents need to be in these specific folders only: UI elements and UI actions. So let's go back to our Notepad++ to write script to let Cryengine know about our Flash document and the action script that it holds. So we're going to go to File, Save As. This file needs to be saved in the UI elements, that folder I was talking about. If you forgot where it's located in your Cryengine build, games, lib, UI, UI elements, and then name it to whatever you want. Obviously, I'm going to name it tutorial _ ammo _ health _ HUD. You can name it whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to call it, just like that. And click Save as XML document. What I'm doing now is I've opened up an existing XML file from the UI elements folder, an existing document from the UI elements folder, and I've copied the entire Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and then pasting it in my new document here, tutorial ammo health, so I can have the basic functionality and outline so that I don't have to remember exactly how it's the formatting is. Top of the page, you're going to notice it's UI elements with an S, name equals ammo health HUD. This name here, by the way, this needs to be here on every document. It needs to start out every document. And the line down here ends UI elements. So everything in between here, everything here is being defined by this and this. And this is called the group name. You are naming all of your stuff you are naming everything that's inside of your Flash program in a group called ammo health HUD. This could be whatever name you want. It's just basically, it's the name of a group, and you just make it up if you want. We're going to name our group basically the same name as our XML file. Again, you can name this whatever you want. So inside opening and closing quotation marks, type in tutorial _ ammo _ health underscore HUD. This is a group name. Everything that's in this thing here, it belongs to the group Tutorial Ammo Health HUD. I don't know why, but that's just what it means. Everything belongs to this group. It won't really be used in code. You won't refer to it really, not that I know of. Second, this is where you define your actual UI element. UI element equals your Flash document. In Cryengine scale form, they refer to your Flash files or your compiled SWF files or GFX files as elements. Each of those files or program is an element. So this entire Flash program is considered an element. So we're going to define this element to let Cryengine know that we want to use this Flash file. So now we have to open up a tag called UI element without an S, name equals, and you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it the same name I called the group. Copy. Paste. Just like that. So the name that Cryengine is going to recognize this document as is Tutorial Ammo Health HUD. That's the name Cryengine is going to give to this document. Now you're going to need the GFX file tag. And this is the name of that GFX file, your compiled SWF. If you remember correctly, let's go look in our current Cryengine build. Game, libs, UI, tutorial ammo health HUD.gfx. Let's copy everything there. Copy. And paste this in here. It's just letting Cryengine know where your file is located and the name of it, just like this. Layer 0 is fine. Keep that by default. Render lockless up here equals 1. It doesn't really matter. I haven't found that made a difference. Just keep it at 1. Keep it at 0. And you can change these parameters later in Cryengine. So it really doesn't matter what you put in values right now. But you do need to have the name of your SWF file or GFX because you renamed it. And then this UI element name is the name that Cryengine will give to your file. That's what it's going to recognize your Flash file as. Constraints, you don't need this, but it's good to put this tag, opening and closing tag. In between here, you have an align mode. Go ahead and put dynamic V align, which is vertical align. You want to align the document in the center. Horizontal align, you want to horizontally align your Flash file in the center of the screen. Scaling, go ahead and set that to 1. This means that if you have like we made this document 1920 by 1080, so if the game you're playing is in a window that's only a resolution of 800 by 600, it scales everything in your document to the right size of 800 by 600. That way all of your documents are all of your items. Let's, for instance, this icon here, if this whole program was shrink down, this icon would shrink down as well. You want scaling on. That's what scaling does. Max, put that at 0. Again, you can change all of these settings inside Cryengine. You don't really need the constraints tab. Functions. This is important. This is where the meat of the program is. This whole part right here was naming the group, naming your actual file, your Flash document. This right here is telling it where the Flash document is, as in what is the name of it, .gfx. The constraints is how do you want to position this Flash document on your screen. You want it to be dynamic. You want it to be vertically in the center, horizontally in the center. We want to scale it so no matter what size resolution you're working with in your game, everything will be perfectly scaled according to the resolution. Now this is where you write the functions. These, you have an opening functions tag and obviously a closing functions tag. Everything inside here defines the functions that are in your Flash file. See, function 1, function 2, function 3, function 4. Now, you don't need to put every single function in this functions tag or function segment. Only the functions that you actually want to have access to in Cryengine. Functions that you have in Flash that you just want to do stuff in Flash, you do not need to put that in the functions tag on this XML document. You only need to put in the functions that you want Cryengine to actually be able to access and modify and change. In this case, on this program, we want to modify every single function. We want access to every single function because we want Cryengine to be able to call the set health function, the set current ammo function, set total ammo function, and set gun type function. Without Cryengine being able to call these functions, setting the text in the documents would never happen because these functions were never called. Because if you remember correctly, these were just defining the functions. That's all it is. These are defining. They don't actually do what's inside here. They only do what's inside the function when a function is called. When the program says, hey, do this function. And because we define the function in here, you can tell Cryengine, hey, do this function. Bam, do this function, meaning do what's inside the function. So in this case, we do need it. So you need a opening and closing function tag. So, function name equals set health. The first name here is you're going to give it a name that you want Cryengine to recognize it as. Set health. It's not the actual name of your function. This is just a name that you're letting Cryengine recognize your function as. Then func name equals set health. This is the actual function that is here. If you see here, I have a capital S and a capital H. That's because it is case sensitive. It needs to, because I defined it capital S, capital H. You need to write it exactly as you had it. So now what this does is it takes your actual function, it maps it to a name called set health. So in Cryengine, you would call a function set health with your flow graph, and in turn, it would run the function set health. In turn, doing this function here, setting the player's health to the variable. If you know anything about XML, and I'm learning, but I do know this: opening and closing a tag. You have here function, open, greater than sign, then less than sign, then a greater than sign, and to close it, you have a forward slash, and then the same deal, but you had a forward slash before it. So when your function doesn't have any parameters, when you're defining here, meaning if your function does not have anything in between the opening and closing, then you do not need this or this. So let me just get this straight. Let me go ahead and delete this. Let's say if this program function set health did not have anything in between here, it had no parameters, then I would go ahead, write the function name, do everything the same, but before I close it, I'm going to put a forward slash. This right here opens a tag. This right here closes a tag. Because I don't have any parameters, that's the end of the tag. But because I do have parameters inside this right here, I do not put a closing forward slash here to close it. I need to not have that here, write the parameter, go ahead and close the parameter because that's the end of the parameter tag, and then go ahead and close the function. I hope you understand that well. If you don't understand XML, then you probably shouldn't be doing this tutorial, and go ahead and learn XML just a little bit. You don't have to learn a lot, but just a little bit. It'd help out. Okay. So parameter name. Again, the first name is what you want Cryengine to recognize the parameter as. Actually, that is wrong. That is wrong. The parameter name is health text, which is exactly what this says here. Health text. Exactly, all caps, no caps, half caps, little caps, doesn't matter. It is case sensitive, so you need to write it exactly what the parameter here was. Then description. Anywhere you see description in these Flash XML files, it is a user-friendly code hint. So again, remember I told you these function and variables are going to be their own flow graph node? Well, if you hover over the flow graph node, over this input, because remember the parameters are going to be inputs. If you hover over it, it's going to pop up a little window saying player's current health. It's just a code hint that you know. If you've ever done flow graph, if you hover over things, it'll give you like a little code hint. That's what this description is. You don't need it, but it's always good to have. So description. Well, what does this parameter do? Well, it sets the player's health. So just go that right there. Player's current health. Then you got to close it. And then you got to close the function. Just like that. Then you got to write a new function. You need to write a function tag for every, an opening function tag and a closing function tag for every function. So our next function is called set gun type. So let's go ahead and do this, because this is from an old thing here. We need to have new information on this document because I just copied and pasted it from an old one. So function name set health. Set health. Okay, that's correct. Func name set health. Yep, that's correct. Health text. Health underscore text. That's different than last time. So go ahead, health underscore text, because our parameter here was health underscore text. And it's not a capital T, it's a lowercase t. Health underscore text. Player's current health. Cool. Next function. Set current ammo. Let's go ahead and copy that. And I usually name the name that Cryengine recognizes it as the name of the function, the actual function. That's what I do. So if the function's real name is set gun type, I use the same name for Cryengine's, way of looking at the function. Paste. Paste. So just so you get an idea, the first name, function name, is the name you're telling Cryengine to recognize your function as. It's whatever you want. Func name equals is the name of the actual name of the function. The actual name, remember, capitalization is important. And of course, this function has a parameter as well. Well, the parameter is current ammo text. That's the parameter. Or on the flow graph node, it's going to be an input, little knob on it, or whatever you call them, input knob. It's going to be an input. And you need to have this the same. So go ahead and paste it. Current ammo text is the parameter. Current ammo text is the parameter. And for the description, again, this is not needed, but it's good to help you out when you're flow graphing. Set current ammo. I already have this down here. Copy. Boom, 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 boom. Paste. Player's current ammo and clip. That's what's going to pop up when I hover over this input. Current ammo text. Player's current ammo and clip. Okay, now we need to close the function. New function definition. Func name. What's the third one? Set total ammo. Let's go ahead. And function name, set total ammo. Paste. The actual function name is the same. Set total ammo. Paste. This does have a parameter as well, so we need a parameter name equals, what's the parameter name? Okay, total ammo text. Copy. Parameter name is this, total ammo text. And for the description, I already have it down here, player's total ammo amount in inventory for current weapon. Copy. Paste. Okay, remember, close your function. Just want to remind you, if you do not have any parameters for a function, as in if you have nothing in between the opening and closing parentheses of your function, you do not need the parameter line nor the end function line. You just need to have function name. At the end of func name, you put a / to close that function, just like that. But since we do have a parameter, we don't put a / here. We define the parameter and close the parameter with this / because that's the end of the parameters. and then close the function because that's the end of the definition of the function. Next line, or next function definition, would be set gun type. Copy. Set the user-defined name for the function, set gun type, and the actual function name. This right here, just want to make it clear, this is the name that Cryengine recognizes the function as, and it's user-defined. You can name it whatever you want. And then this func name is the actual name of your function, case sensitive. So it maps, Cryengine maps the actual name to a more user-friendly name called set gun type. In this case, they're the same because I like to, I don't want to get mixed up. So I name them the same. This has a parameter. The parameter is between opening and closing brackets, gun, or parentheses, gun type text. Go ahead, copy. Parameter name, paste. For description, player's current gun name. End of the functions, this function here. And then I have a closing functions tag which closes the definition of all of these. Because we're done defining all the functions, because we have no more functions to define, I'm going to close the functions tab. See, we opened it, letting you know we're going to define all the functions, which we did, and then we're going to close it saying we're done defining functions. Then you're going to have events. Since we do not have any events here, we're not going to be going over that in our tutorial. I do go over events in my first UI tutorial, so go ahead and look at that if you need to find out what events are. I'm assuming you've already watched that if you're watching this one. This next section is where we define variables. There we go, variables. We have an opening tag letting you know we're going to define some variables, and then a closing so that we're done defining. Inside here, variable name, again, when it says just name, it's the user-friendly name. This is the name that Cryengine recognizes your variable as, health text. We have a variable, as you can see, health text. But since this is from a different text file, because I just copied and pasted into this document, I have to change it. Health text is defined health underscore text. So first of all, I need an underscore, and it's not a capital T, just a regular T. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy. Well, first of all, I'm going to copy all my variables because I'm not going to be making a lot more work. I'm copying all my variables, going down past everything, pasting. That way I have easy access, so I don't keep going back to the program. So health text, copy, health text, and the actual variable name obviously is health text. We have a variable called current ammo text. Because this is the variable section, we're defining our variables so we can have access to them in Cryengine, just like we can have access to our functions in Cryengine. Our user-friendly name, var name, is our actual variable name. Total ammo text is our next variable. Copy. And put that in here, user-defined. Then in the actual variable name. Next one, gun type text. Copy. Paste, user-friendly. Now we're going to put in the actual variable name. So just to go over what this document is about, this XML document that Cryengine needs, without it, it will not recognize your file. It will not know that you have a UI that you want to load in Cryengine. Cryengine will not know that you have this file that you want to use without this document. It's an XML. And all this XML does is say, hey, we have a graphics file or a GFX file that we want to use. The name of it is Tutorial Ammo HUD, and the group that it belongs to is Tutorial Ammo HUD as well. And then these are the functions that this file has that we want access to. Also, these are the variables that this file has and we want access to. Also, the events, you do the same thing. But there we go. One thing to note, this is very important, and this is why I did the things I did with Flash the way I did, because it can get very confusing. And let me just explain. The actual variable name, and this applies for the actual function names. As you can see here, health text. That's my variable, health text. Function name, set health. Function name, set health. That's easy, pretty easy to just copy the name and put it in here. That's why I did it the way I did. And that's why I put the scripts on its own layer. The scripts are not attached to anything in the document whatsoever. It's not attached to the button, it's not attached to the symbol picture here, it's not attached to the stage, it's attached to nothing. The scripts is on the script layer on frame 1. Had you not done that, I had put this button, this variable, on the health, if I put this script right here, this action script, onto this button directly by right-clicking, going to actions, as you can see, it has no actions, because I put the script on the script layer on frame 1, but had I put it on there, I would have, the instance name is pick health MC of this object. Pick health MC. So when I went to go define the variable, had I put the variable or the script onto this object, instead of the actual variable name, I'd actually have to type in more things, and it gets confusing and confusing. Because the variable or the script, because the variable belongs to a script, and that script belongs to this object, I'd actually have to type pick underscore HEAL health underscore MC dot health text. And that just gets so confusing to remember what script belongs to what item. This is because the health text variable is in a script that belongs to the pick health instance. And it just gets so confusing with the dots, figuring out what belongs to what. This is exactly why I put these scripts on nothing. I made an own layer and put it on frame 1 of that layer. I did not assign any scripts to any objects. That's why, because it gets so confusing to figuring out how I define my variables and functions. What do they belong to? What item are they attached? That way, by not attaching my scripts to anything and using a layer in frame 1, I'm able to just refer to its name and it recognizes it. Like I said, it's a headache saver. So please do not add any script to the actual objects, because you can do the exact same thing, same effect, without putting that script onto the object you want to modify. Just put it on a new layer on frame 1 or whatever like that, because you'll save yourself headaches. Because as you can see, all I have to do is write the name of the variable. All I have to do is write the name of the function. I don't have to put dot this, dot that, dot this to remember what it comes out as. So please, save yourself some work. And we are done with the document. We close the variables. We close the UI element because we are done defining the UI element. Everything inside UI element here and UI element here defines our UI element, our file, defines our file. Everything within the UI elements here, all of this defines what group it belongs to. And then obviously this defines the functions, and this is what all the functions are. This defines the variables. These are what the variables are. But that's all you have to do. That's how you write the script in order for Cryengine to know what you are going to be using for a Flash file. Without this document, it will not know that you have a file you want it to use. Without adding these variables, it won't know that you want to use a variable that's in your Flash action script. Without adding the functions, it won't know that you have functions to use. So There we go. You don't have to add any functions that you don't want to use. Functions you do want to have access to in Cryengine, you define them here in the parameters. Variables you want to have access to, you write them here in between the variables tag. Like I said, you don't have to write every single variable in you know, functions and events and stuff like that. Only ones you want to access in Cryengine. I hope that's clear to understand. After we've done that, go ahead and save it in the UI elements. We've already created it, so we just got to save. Save in the UI elements folder. Again, your Cryengine directory, game, libs, UI elements is where you save this document. Now, Cryengine, when you load up Cryengine, it will know that you have that file. So let's go ahead and do that. I might have made a mistake here and there. I might have like a spelling mistake because I already had a bunch of stuff that was already in there, so I might have got confused. But everything should be fine. So let me just close out of this. I don't need this anymore. So let's go ahead and open up our Cryengine. By the way, this right now would be the beginning of what would have been part 3 of the tutorial, the actual Cryengine editor side of the UI tutorial. I'm going to go over the UI emulator just a little bit. I still don't understand it quite as well, but I'll go over a little bit. First thing we do, go to View. You don't even have to open up a level. Just go to View, open View pane. Down at the bottom, UI emulator. Once this is opened, you see UI emulator, and then you have a window previewing what your UI looks like. And then this up here, custom, you might see something else. It may actually have some resolution numbers. If you click it, you can select what resolution you want to preview in. 800 by 600, 1024 by 768, as you can see. It got bigger. I can preview 1920 by 1080, which is the actual size of our document, if you remember. See, the actual size of our document. But we're going to view here so we can view the entire thing. So let's go to elements, because remember our file is considered an element to Cryengine. And if you look, oh, tutorial ammo health HUD, it knows that we have our document. Just click on it once, and then you have the properties down here of that element. Visible. Yes, you want it visible. You want Cryengine to be able to see it. See, you're able to see your file. You've successfully got it into Cryengine, and you want it initialized. Everything you change in the UI emulator only is viable in the UI emulator. All the settings you choose here will not take effect in-game. This is solely for the purpose of debugging and viewing and emulating your UI. All these settings will revert back to your normal XML document. Remember I told you that you can change those properties? Well, you can. And this is where you change those properties. Remember we had line mode to dynamic? See, you can change it to full screen fix. I like to use full screen. Just like that. And now, if I start the game, this will revert back to dynamic because that's what we defined in our XML file. Anything you change in this UI emulator is only used for the UI emulator. Just remember that. To actually change them permanently for your game, if you're unhappy with your XML document and some of the settings, you can actually change them permanently through Flowgraph, and we will go over how to do that because we will need to do that. So for now, I'm just going to go to full screen, scale. See, if I don't click scale, because now let me go to the full resolution. I turned scaling off. Full resolution. Okay, so I'm at the full resolution, 1920 by 1080. This is what our original document is. It's perfect. That's exactly how we made it. But as soon as we go to a lower resolution, like 800 by 600, you'll notice that these obviously aren't in the right places. That's because we have scaling off. It doesn't scale everything in your application based on the resolution. And you want that to happen, so go ahead and click scale. Now these will be exactly where it's supposed to be. Let's change the resolution to, let's say, 720p. Let's turn off scaling. I don't know why they didn't change, but 1024 by 768. Oh, I know why. I know why. I'll explain that in a second. But see, I turn scaling off. Obviously, those icons aren't in the right place at 1024 by 768 resolution. But let me turn scaling on. They are right where they're supposed to be. I'm assuming the reason why when I change it to 720 and had scaling off, it's the same. Say off, on, same, is because 1920 by 1080 is a widescreen 16 by 9 ratio. And as you can see, 1280 by 720 is the same 16 by 9 ratio. So everything is in order. But as soon as you choose 1024 by 768, it's not 60 by 9 ratio, so it will be incorrect unless you have scaling on. So go ahead and always use scaling. It's worth it. Put it back to 800. This here, you can change what viewing, PC, Xbox 360, PS3, 360. You can't really view it, really, because once you go to 360, let's say, go to visible and initialize, then you can see it. And you can preview what it's going to look like and the frames per second it's going to have in that console. You know, PS3, same thing. Make sure that you have visible on, initialize on. You can change the parameters, and same thing. You can visualize the FPS and what it will do in the PS3. But we're working with PC. Okay, so alternatively, instead of turning visible on and initialize on to view it in the UI emulator, you can also double click your thing here, your tutorial ammo health HUD. You can double click it and it'll automatically initialize it and make it visible. Now obviously we want to change these things and we want to emulate to see if it's going to work before we actually get into game. That's what this UI emulator is for. How you do that is, we were in the elements. Sorry, my bad. So still in the elements, go down, you're going to see the functions panel. See? You can see all your functions that are associated with it. What do you know? There they are. Variables. You can see all the variables that are associated. Let's go to the set health function where we can set the health. So go ahead and double click it. When you double click it, make sure that the emulation tab is open. And you're going to see tutorial ammo health HUD set health. And see the parameter? It has the parameter health text. Go ahead, set the health text to 100. Let's go ahead and click call. When you click call, you can immediately see it put 100 here. So you're basically testing out your functions. See, we had our function, set health. We're going to test out to see if the function works. Let's put 50 here and go ahead and call that function. Bam. There you go. You got 50 there. That's how you test. Let's go test set total ammo function, which is right here. Set total ammo function. See, your parameter, total ammo health, was the parameter we used in there. Sorry, total ammo text, because we're setting total ammo. Total ammo of 200, which is right here. Let's see if 200 goes when I call that function. There you go. And you get the idea with the rest of the functions. That's how you call that. It can do the same thing with the variables. You can go down to the variables, set current ammo text, and then you could, if you look here in the emulation tab, you have your variable, current ammo text, and you can have the variable change to a different value, 50. If I set this variable to 50, see, variable to 50, the current ammo text to 50, then I go to the function, set current ammo function, and I go ahead and I call that function without putting anything in the current ammo text. Empty. See? Current ammo text empty. Empty. Just like that. And I haven't found a use for modifying variables in this program here, the UI emulator, but apparently they have it there for a reason. I just have no idea why. So yeah, but you can do the same. You can preview all your variables, arrays, movie clips, and everything. You can use them in the emulator just like this. But just for consistency, let's go ahead and set this current ammo. which is set current ammo text, which is the variable that's associated with this function, the parameter of the function. We're going to set this to 100. Call it. Now we have 100 in that slot. Gun type, let's go to the gun type. Set gun type function. Double click it to bring it up in the emulation panel. Gun type text variable. The gun type text variable is going to equal SCAR. Then we're going to call the function to set. See, calling the set gun type function with the variable equaling SCAR. Boom. Now you have a SCAR. That's it. So now that we know that our program works flawlessly, let's go ahead and actually implement it in game. I'm getting a error down here, tutorial ammo health HUD, trying to access undefined variable, current ammo text. I don't know why I'm getting that, but it looked like it worked. So let's go ahead and open up a level. File, open, any level you want. Actually, cancel. I'm going to open up I'm going to create a new level. And tutorial HUD. Just like that. Very small resolution because it's just for HUD viewing. I don't need it to belong to any project, so click OK. Okay. Let's go to the terrain. Let's just quickly generate a terrain. Terrain's over here. That looks crazy. Let's go to modify just to bring this down. Flatten. Actually, rise and lower. Bring it down like that, and bring the outside radius quite large so that we can just get this down to size. That looks so weird. That generate terrain looked so weird when I did it like that. I guess we're just gonna create our regular flatten height, and we'll just create some terrain here. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead, File, Save, File, Generate Surface Texture, File, and save it again. Now, this is an important thing. In order to use because now we defined our UI, so Cryengine can recognize that you have a UI you want to use or a flash file you want to use. You need to let the program know, or Cryengine know, you want to use it in FlowGraph. So you got to do this. In FlowGraph, in order to let Cryengine know that you want to use your HUD in FlowGraph, you got to go to File and create a new UI action. UI actions are actions, things like a function basically, a set of FlowGraph nodes that do stuff with your UI. So let's go ahead and create a new UI action. And this UI action is going to show your HUD on the screen. So this UI action is going to be in control of showing your HUD on the screen. These UI actions need to be saved specifically in your Cryengine folder root, game, libs. Remember that important folders I was talking about, the UI elements and UI actions? Well, you guessed it. We're creating a new UI action, so it belongs in the UI actions. In here, we're going to type in you can name it whatever you want, but name it something that makes sense. Tutorial _ a MMO, ammo, health, HUD, show. This is going to be control of showing the UI HUD. Save it. Now that we've done that, we can create what it does. Every UI action generally needs to start with a UI start node, UI action start node. So go ahead and right click, add node, UI actions start. This starts the UI action. It also needs an end UI action. So go to UI actions end. You want to make sure that disable action is go and click yes. You want to disable the action by default. Disable it. That way your HUD does not load unless you tell it to in your flow graph. Because right now you're really not flow graphing per se for your level. You're just creating basically a group of instructions that you're going to call. You're going to call this UI action. This UI action HUD show in your actual flow graph. You're going to call this UI action to do it. So you don't want it to automatically do it. You want to be able to wait till you call it, then show it. So that's why we disable these actions by default. Once you've done that, go ahead, right click. And remember I told you the properties in the XML? This is how you actually set them permanently. Add node, UI, display, config. Right click, add node, UI, display, constraints. So when this UI action is started, see start action, when it's started, we want to set some configs for this UI. First of all, yes, we want to enable the mouse. Actually, we don't want to enable the mouse on the screen. We want to include mouse events by default. We want to include key events, console mouse, console cursor, controller input, so you can use a controller. And that's everything you need to set here. These are on a UI by UI basis. I just typically set these all to true. You don't need to set any of these ones here if you don't want to. But just look over these properties and hover over it. Again, see how that popped up? Boolean enables mouse events. That's your DESE. That's your description you defined in the XML. And what properties of what element do we want to set? Well, we want to set the properties of our tutorial ammo health element. So when we start the UI action, we want to set some properties. The properties we want to set belong to the tutorial ammo health HUD UI element. When we're done setting these, when we're on set, after it's done, when we're done setting these, we want to set some more properties. We want it to be full screen, because it was dynamic. We want it to be full screen. We want it to start at left position 0, left pixel, top left pixel, top pixel. We want it to start at 0, end at 0. You don't need to set these really, the left, top, width, and height, because you typed full screen. So you can ignore these. Scale, obviously we do want to scale because not everybody's going to be playing in a 1920 by 1080 resolution. So you want your UI to scale properly depending on what they do. Horizontal align, middle is fine, which is the same as center in your XML script. That's good. Maximize, no, you don't want that. When you're done setting these options, you finally want to display it to the screen. So add node, UI, display, display. You want to display it. Well, what element do you want to display? What file? What GFX file do you want to display? Well, we want to display our tutorial ammo health HUD. And for the constraints, we forgot to set the element. We want to set the properties for the tutorial ammo health HUD GFX file. So when we set those properties, we want to show this element, our tutorial HUD ammo health HUD element. So, and then after we're done showing it, we want to end the UI actions because we don't want to do anything else other than that. So we're going to end the action. So let's go over what this means. We created a UI action that shows the HUD. And this UI action does this. When we call the action in our flow graph, when we say, hey, start this UI action, that's going to start it. It's going to set some properties of our tutorial ammo health HUD GFX file. After it set it, on set means when it sets it, we want to set some more properties of the same GFX file of all these. Then when it sets that, we finally want to display it. We want to show it to the screen. And then after we're done that, we end the action because we don't want to do anything more than that. These files, these UI action files, unlike FlowGraph, they need to be saved manually every single time you make a change. Otherwise, they'll be lost. So go to File, Save. Make sure you click on your Tutorial Ammo Health HUD Show UI. File, Save. If you want to know where this is located, here's your FlowGraph. You have your FlowGraph modules, material effects, UI actions. Open UI actions, scroll down, Tutorial Ammo Health HUD Show. Here we go. After we do that, we're going to add a spawn point. You don't need a spawn point. I just like to add a spawn point. That way I can add my FlowGraph to the spawn point. So, Entity, Multiplayer, Spawn point. Just like that. Once you've done that, Tool, Reload Scripts, AI, Generate All AI. Click on it, right click, Create FlowGraph. I'm going to call this Start. Now my FlowGraphs, we have Entities, Start, Spawn point. This would be your generally what you would do normally in FlowGraph when you write your FlowGraphs. Well, add node, we'll add start node. So when we start the game, because this is regular FlowGraphing now, when we start the game, what do we want to do? Well, we already had a UI action that shows the UI to the screen, so we want to basically start. We want to call the UI action to run. So let me just jump in game without doing anything to show you what happens. When I jump in game, you're going to notice our HUD does not show. That's because it's not being told to show. So let's go back to FlowGraph. Entities, Start, Spawn point. So when we start the game, in game or in the editor, we want to show our UI. Well, like I said, we made a UI action that does that. It shows the UI to the screen. So we're going to right click, add node, UI, action, control. This is what calls the UI action control node is what calls the UI actions. So when we start the game, we want to start the UI action. Well, what UI action do we want to start? Obviously, we want to show this HUD to the screen, so we call the UI action Tutorial Ammo Health HUD Show. Now, we told it when we start the game and in the editor, go ahead and start the UI action Tutorial Ammo Health HUD Show. And obviously, this UI action you saw does the showing of the UI. So let's just jump in game. And you're going to notice that we immediately have our HUD on the screen. Now, my health says health. It doesn't say 100 or 200 or anything like that. And obviously my ammo still says current ammo, gun type, and total ammo. Even if I shoot, nothing changes. Even if I damage myself, nothing changes. That's because we didn't tell it to make use of our functions. Remember our functions, set health, set current ammo, set gun type, and set total ammo? Well, we have to do that in FlowGraph to let it know to do that. So here's how. Go to FlowGraph, Entities, Start, Spawn point. So let's just calm down for a second and do this logically. Oh, sorry, let me light up a smoke here. Alright, remember I told you our functions and variables will have their own flow node? Well, that's true. Here's where you can find them. Add node, UI, functions, tutorial ammo health HUD. We have set current ammo, set gun type, set health, total ammo. You want to use all of these functions, so set current ammo. Here we go, we have our own flow node. This input node, when this receives a trigger here, if something comes into this, if this node gets activated, it calls this function. Current ammo text is our variable. Remember, our function set current ammo had a parameter called current ammo text. Well, it's an input, just like I told you. So when something activates this call, it calls the function, and our function sets the variable. Our function sets the current ammo. See, it sets our current ammo. But then it looks for, okay, how much is our current ammo? Well, that's when our variable current ammo text comes into place. We can take a number and put it into current ammo text. So if we put 100 here and put that into current ammo text, it's going to set our current ammo with 100 because that's the parameter we use. So let's just go add all of our functions. UI, functions, tutorial ammo health HUD, set gun type. Just keep adding all of them because we're going to make use of all those functions. Set health. Set total ammo. And all these have parameters. Gun type text, total ammo text, that's the parameters or inputs that I was telling you about. And you will know what these parameters do because you scripted the Flash document, if you remember. Because we know that the set health function sets the health based on what the variable equals. And the variable was health text. So we just input a number into health text, and that's what it sets the health as. But now we have to get the actual game's health, the game's ammo. We have to have Cryengine feed that information into these variables, and this is how you do it. Bum bum bum, bum bum bum. This is exciting. So let's see here. One thing you're going to need: add node. To do this, add node, add node, add node, game, weapon sensor. See the weapon sensor. What it does is you put an entity here. In this place, you're going to put the player in this entity, and then it gets information about the entity. It's going to get when he changes the weapon. It's going to get when he changes his firing mode. It's going to get when he shoots his weapon, when he zooms in, when he reloads, on and on and on. It's going to get the weapon ID. The weapon that he's using. It's going to get the name of the weapon that he's using. He's going to see if he's using melee. It's going to get his current ammo. It's going to get his ammo type. It's going to get his ammo name. It's going to get his maximum ammo. It's going to get his maximum ammo for his current gun. It's going to get his spread. It's going to check if he's zoomed, yes or no. It's going to zoom mode, the name of the zoom mode, current zoom step, max zoom step, like your 1-time zoom, 2-time zoom, 3-time zoomed in. That's what it does. So obviously we want to get the player's stuff. We want to get what the player, which is you, what you're holding. We want to get all these parameters from you. So add start node, game, local player, which is us. So we're going to take, when we start the game, we want to update our local player. Then we want to take entity ID is a representation of our person, meaning it is our person. Just like in the Flash document, our instance name for our text field represented the actual text field, entity IDs represent the actual object. So go ahead, take the entity ID of the player or player and input it into choose entity. So now the weapon sensor is going to get all this information here from our player. So let's put the set health up here. Let's see, set current ammo. Set health. Let me put set gun type, set current ammo, and finally set total ammo. Then we need another node, add node, because this is all about weapons. And so far, this function is about weapons, this function is about weapons, and this function is about weapons. But this function is about health, and obviously, weapon sensor isn't going to give you the player's health. So add node, game, actor sensor, but we want actor sensor, actor set health. Actually, no. What we want is, I use this in my actual deal, and you can see it worked fine. But I think a better deal would do if we add node game actor get health. Yeah, actor get health. So when we start the game, we want to trigger. Meaning we want to start this node. We want to get the player's health, get the actor's health. But what actor do we want to get? Obviously, we want to get the local player. We want to get us. We want to get our health. See? Choose entity. Now we have our health. So when we start the game, we're going to trigger. What we're going to trigger, meaning we're going to get our player's health. And then health output current health of entity. So, obviously, trying to think. Yeah, that's fine. So when we start, we want to get the player's health because we told it the input entity. The entity we want to get health of is the player, entity ID. And let's just bring this up here for easier access. And the set health function needs the player's health as a parameter. So we're going to take the player's health, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and input into our variable health text. So now our health text knows what the player's health is. So when we call the function, it knows what to set the player's health as. Well, when do we want to call this function? We want to call this function this set health function is something that the set health function is something I'm not, I can't remember how I did that. Because we want to call it every time we receive damage, but I know this is all I had in there. That's fine. Every time we get the player's health, every time the player's health is changed. Wait, how do we do that? Add node, game. How did we do this? I want to see here. Hold on. I didn't put any of these in, but just hold on a second here. Oh yeah, I did. I did use this. I did use this. Okay. Here's the issue. Hold on. Sorry, it's a little bumpy here. Okay, here we go. So in order to call the set health function and get the player's health, we've got to right click, add node, game, actor, sensor. And we want to sense the actor's properties of our player. So go ahead, tell we want to get the properties of the player actor. So there's a thing here called on health change. So this node is outputted every time our entity, which in this case is our actor, is changed. So every time our health changes, call the set health function, because we want to change the health every time the health changes. And then we need to let it know what is our health through this variable health text. And if you look at this, it says triggered when actor's health changed, and it also outputs the current health. So we want to put the current health in there. That's all we got to do for that. And when we start the game, we also want to get the properties to begin with of all these of that player. Same thing for the weapon sensor. When we start the game, we also want to get the properties of the gun and stuff that he's holding. Also, we want to enable the nodes when we start the game. So, enable the nodes. So, set gun type. Well, when do we want to call the set gun type? We got to think for a second. We want to set the gun type every time we change a weapon, because when you change a weapon, you're using a new gun, obviously. So we need to set the gun type every time we change a weapon. So, on weapon change, call the function set gun type. But what's going to be the name? What's the name? What's the variable gun type text going to equal when it goes ahead and it sets the gun type equal to the name here? What name is it going to be? Weapon name. Here we go. This outputs the weapon name, the current weapon you're using. Goes into gun type text. So now the function knows the name of the weapon, and it's going to call it every time you change your weapon. Just like that. Now the function, set current ammo. When do we want to call the function to set current ammo? Well, whenever we shoot, you can deduce that our ammo goes down because we're shooting. So every time our ammo goes down, we have a new ammo count. So we want to obviously set the current ammo every time we shoot. So when we shoot, go ahead and call the set current ammo. But then it needs to know how much ammo you have, and that's why we have the current ammo text. We need to put how much ammo the player has. Well, if you look here, there's a node here called ammo. Read it, current ammo count. Obviously, no brainer. Put that right in there. Now we have a function, tutorial ammo health HUD set total ammo. Now we need to set the total ammo. And I'm leaving something out on purpose just to show you guys. I'll explain that to you later. So when do we want to set the total ammo? We'll think for a second. When we set the total ammo, well, the total ammo really changes when you reload or when you shoot. But we already have something that changes every time we shoot, which is our current ammo. So we only want to change the total ammo when we reload, because we're tapping into our total ammo cache. So when we reload, we're going to call the function set ammo, total ammo. On reload, call the function set total ammo. Now, how do you know what our total ammo is? Now, you may get confused like I did at first. There's a max ammo here, which is, you think, okay, the maximum ammo. But it's not. I don't know what this node does, but it's not what you need. Ammo pool is current ammo pool. Ammo pool is actually the current ammo of your weapon. So you want to use ammo pool. Total ammo text. There you go. We want our total ammo pool, how much maximum weapon ammo that we have in here. So every time we call a function, it'll output how much ammo we have left total. So let's go ahead, save, because those flow graphs only get saved at your level, and you don't want to lose all that work. So go ahead and save your level. Now let's go ahead and jump in game. And you're going to notice something immediately. If you look on the right hand side, we have our SCAR, but the current ammo still says current ammo, and total ammo still says total ammo. Well, you're like, I thought we fixed that. That's because we didn't tell it to set the current ammo amount when we start the game. We only told it to set the ammo when we shoot. So let's shoot. There we go. See? And total ammo, we told it only to show that when we reload. So that's only going to come up when we reload. See how that works? And you can see that the current ammo after reloaded is still 0. Shouldn't that be 40 again? Well, again, remember, we only told the program to change our current ammo when we shoot. So if I shoot, there we go. So obviously there's still things we need to do. So go to flow graph, files, entities, start, spawn point. So now we got to think even more. And that's the part I was telling you that I left out. First thing, there's going to be multiple, as you can see. There's going to be multiple ways you can call the function. Like this set, this set current ammo can be called, or should be called, multiple ways. Whenever we shoot, set current ammo, and whenever we reload, it should also call the function. And at the start of the game, it should also call the function. So let's go ahead, add node. Add node, logic any. This logic any node is a way of, basically, I would output this out into call. Now, anything that comes into the imports, anything is going to call this. It's going to output. So anytime 1 is received, 2 is received, 3 is received, 4 is received, anytime one of these is received, doesn't matter, it's going to output. So it's basically a way of having more than one thing activate a node. So when we start the game, when we start, we want to call the function. But also, when we shoot, we want to call the function. And when we reload, we also want to call the function. Get that? That's what the logic any node does. Let's jump back in. So when we start, you're going to notice 40. Our current ammo is 40. That works perfect. So let's shoot. And when I reload, watch what happens. Oh, my ammo's back at 40. Perfect. But our total ammo still didn't show up when we started the game. So let's fix that now. See, set total ammo. Well, obviously, we want to do the same thing. So let's add another copy, Control-C, Control-V to paste to any. I'll put this to call. Obviously, we want to call that function when we start the game. We also want to call that function when we reload. And we also want to call the function when we change our weapon. Because every time you change a weapon, you're going to have different totals for each different weapon. Like I may have a total ammo count of 50 for my SCAR. But when I switched to my rocket launcher, I said, wait a minute, we don't have 50 rockets. We have a different amount. So we're going to call the set total ammo amount. Just like that. Same thing for the set current ammo. We're also going to call it when we change our weapon as well. Because when we change our weapon, we want to set how much current weapon we have for that weapon. Not what we had for the SCAR. If we had a SCAR had 50, and we didn't tell it to change on weapon change, and we changed to the rocket launcher, it would still say we had 50, but obviously that's not true. So every time we change a weapon, we also have to call the function set current ammo. So let's go ahead. Let's save it, because we don't want to lose our work, obviously. Control G. Now look at that. 200 pops up right away, 40 pops up right away. So let's shoot. Everything changes according to plan. Perfect. Now let's change our weapon. First it says SCAR. Fists. And you can see the ammo updated because we told it to. Binoculars. Rockets. Keep looking. 1 current, 5 total. 1 current, 4 total. Awesome. I just did a little bit of damage. Look at my health at 89. 58. Negative 21. That's what that square means. Negative 21. But there we go. Isn't that amazing? We've now done everything. So you guys should be fully set to implementing your own HUD. And the cool thing about this tutorial is that it's not specifically just to recreate everything that I did, because obviously you want to create your own HUDs. Maybe you want to create like an RTS type of HUD. Maybe you want to create like an inventory system. The purpose of me doing this tutorial is so that you could see the basic steps to get functions from your Flash program into Cryengine, your variables from your Flash program into Cryengine, and then implementing those to FlowGraph. It's a tutorial that covers a wide range of topics and will help you out a lot. I hope you appreciate it. Thank you very much for all your time. Please comment and rate. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to, because I don't want to pressure anybody into doing that. But just let me know how I did, please, good or bad. Thank you very much. Bye.